On December 7th, 1941, Japan executed a military attack from air on the United States military base in Pearl Harbor. This attack brought the United States into World War II. 68 civilians were killed and 35 were injured in this attack. Only 3 aircraft were shot down. However, over 2,400 people were killed in the attack and nearly 1,200 were wounded. The United States was overwhelmed with 353 aircraft at Pearl Harbor in the morning on December 7th. Ultimately, this was a huge victory for Japan, as they suffered only 64 casualties. Following the attack, it took Franklin D. Roosevelt only one day to enter the United States into World War II. They entered on December 8, 1941. The United States declaring war on Japan led to Germany and Italy declaring war on the United States. And technically, the United Kingdom declared war on Japan before the United States did. The United States joining World War II led to the formation of the Big Three, which consisted of Winston Churchill, the leader of the United Kingdom, Joseph Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union, and Franklin D. Roosevelt, the President of the United States. They had many meetings to discuss war strategy, one being the Quebec Conference. Stalin was not able to attend this meeting. At the conference, they specifically formed Operation Overlord, also known as D-Day. They wanted to eliminate Italy, then Germany from the war, only leaving Japan left fighting. The Allied attack on northern France at Normandy was effective in terms of execution and effect of the outcome of the war, as it was the beginning of the end for the Axis forces. The effective execution of Operation Overlord began on June 6, 1944, as Allied ships landed on the beaches in Normandy. Germany controlled northern France at this point in the war. Operation Overlord, if executed correctly, could prove as a huge advancement towards the defeat of Germany and the Nazis. This attack began from the air as 1,000 Royal Air Force bombers attacked Germany along the coast of France. 5 hours before a boat even landed on the beaches in Normandy, Allied paratroopers were dropped behind enemy lines with their task to cut German communication and to control bridges and roads. However, in the dropping of paratroopers, many died. 2 divisions, 82 and 101, missed their zones. Many landed in water and drowned, and the other were lost on the coast of northern France. The attack was intense on the beach where the warships began this attack. The Allied attacked German positions on the beach by water and from air. 5 beaches were invaded: Omaha Beach, Utah Beach, Juno Beach, Gold Beach, and Sword Beach. In the first phases of the landing upon these beaches, the ineffectiveness of the invasion was shown. However, the Allied troops were able to recover and adapt to the ineffective confusion and ultimately continued the all-out attack on northern France. The invasion on the beaches of Normandy marked the beginning of the end of World War II. At this point, the Allied troops began to win the fight against Germany and their allies. This invasion took months of Allied planning. The purpose of D-Day was to take mainland Europe away from Nazi Germany's control. Every beach was generally successful in the mission. However, on Omaha Beach, the success that was expected from Operation Overlord was doubted. This invasion was a turning point because involving 11,000 aircraft, 7,000 ships, and 5 army divisions, it was the largest land and water assault ever launched. The totals are astonishing, as 75,215 British and Canadian troops landed by sea, and an additional 57,500 U.S. troops landed by sea on D-Day. Also, 23,400 were landed via the air. In just 5 days, the Allies secured the Kontinen Peninsula. However, progress didn't stay this efficient as German resistance intensified. D-Day changed the landscape of the war for the remainder of World War II. This invasion made Germany fight in 2 different locations, ultimately weakening their assault. 20 days after the beginning of Operation Overlord, the German troops began to retreat further inland, specifically directly after Allied troops captured the port of Cherbourg. Another effect of D-Day was that Paris was liberated on August 25, 1944. Following the liberation of Paris on December 16, 1944, Germany attempted to push back Allied troops. They were successful for 50 miles as they created a bulge in the Allied front. The German troops were defeating the Allies at this point. However, the Allies eventually defeated the Germans at the Battle of the Bulge on January 16, 1945. This caused the Germans to retreat as the Allied continued resistance towards Germany. Ultimately, D-Day was the beginning of the successful Allied power that eventually led to the end and Allied victory of World War II. D-Day will always be remembered and respected by all people around the world, as many pay their respects to the soldiers that served on this deadly day in 1944. Without D-Day, the outcome of the war could have potentially been different. Family and friends of those who died on D-Day often pay their respects at Normandy American Cemetery in France. U.S. veterans also go here to remember their fellow soldiers that have fallen. France just recently paid their respects to U.S. soldiers that fought to defend French land during D-Day on October 23, 2017, with the Legion of Honor. The Legion of Honor is the most prestigious award you can receive from the French military. France gave the Legion of Honor to U.S. soldiers who risked their life resisting German control over France. These soldiers were Paul Willis and James Minette. Paul Willis, a U.S. veteran served on D-Day, said this was not expected and he was very honored and thrilled to be receiving this award.